Hello, hello, hello. And a little bit early just so I can make sure, as always, that everything's going good. If anybody's here, hello. Bring you in a Kong with some frozen hamburger in it, and you choose to run around with the stuffed animal in your mouth. Jeez. All right. Hello. Whoever's here, can you hear me? I'll put out a couple of reminders real quick. What you got there down there, little man? Let's see. See if mine comes through. Am I typing done right? Yep. Later, I can say hello to myself. Hello, myself. Hopefully the sound's okay. Get my handy dandy notepad out so I can write any notes if anybody's got anything so I can come back to it. All right. My little monster running around like a maniac, waiting for him to take something out. What are you doing up there? Hey, little guy, come here. Says, no, I've got a Kong. I am not coming. I'm going to have to chase his little butt all over the place if I want something fun right now. Hey. Yeah. There we go. There we are. He says, don't bother me. I've got my toy. It's as big as his freaking head. Oh, there it went. Up. Says, I'm out of here. All right. Done. Gone. Hello. Whoever's here, can you drop a message just to let me see who all's here? That way we can get everything going here. Hold on one second. I'll bring it back. Make sure I got everybody put away. All right. I'm back. Sorry. I had to disappear. What time we got here? Oh, we still got like another 6 freaking minutes. Well, hello, Mr. Ham. Thanks for saying something. Also, just as a little note, if anybody ever wonders, don't eat a big giant spoonful of peanut butter before you go to do a live. I was hungry and didn't really have anything to just snack on quickly, so I grabbed that, not thinking the consequences. Hold on one second. I have to, a friend's calling. Let me see what's going on real fast. Hello, Jim. There should be a section, I think, at the bottom or to the side, depending on if you're on the computer. Okay. Bye. All right. Whoever's here a little early, thank you for being here. How's the sound, Chris, and the picture? Does it sound okay and look all right? Hey, Amanda, how you doing? All right, cool. I was supposed to have a little helper today, but she wasn't able to. Lydia had to do some Valentines for her class. So, as much as she wanted to be on YouTube today, she chose the right thing to do and decided to do her Valentine's, which are school stuff that need to be done. She was a little upset, but and then she asked me, will I be able to do it again sometime in the future? And I was like, well, of course you can. So I don't have my helper today, but maybe next time around she'll be able to help me out. So I know, Amanda, she was looking forward to it as well. So you just have to put up with me. That's it. Only me and then my little dog here. So yeah, we got a couple more minutes before it's 6, so we'll give a few more minutes on top of that. Just making sure that it's out there for everybody, so bear with me. Oop. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Thanks for my like, whoever already hit the like button. We got a little bit of a list to go for those of you who are here a little early, and then those who will watch later on. It's when I don't know if you can see, it's with the lighting, it's kind of rough, but I got 2 pages, but it should be covered kind of quick. It all runs together a little bit. 2 pages and then a partial. Hey, Justin, how's it going? I see you beat Mason in, so he's slacking, I guess. All right. I'm giving it just a couple more minutes, see if we get any more people in or not. Apparently Mason has decided that eating is more important than watching his brother's video, but whatever, at least you're here, right? Yeah, some people, I don't know, it's a little different for everybody else. On my computer, it's on my right hand side at the bottom. There's a place down there, and for me, it just says "Killed the Canine Dog Training," and then it says "Say Something." If you're watching it on a phone, I believe it is more towards the bottom, or you have to scroll down a little bit. I don't know if I can pull it up and see here real quick where it might be. Let me see here. Oop. Let me see real quick. Let me see. That's not, where am I at here? I gotta find my own stuff. So, I think on live videos, or on the phone, I think it's kind of, you have to scroll down a little bit past the picture. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe a little different on everybody else's. So, like I said, I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure how to do that. So if anybody else knows what it might be, what might be the way for everybody to see that. If you could kind of give them a little help. Yeah, I just, like I said, I'm not quite sure exactly where it is on everybody's stuff. So, hey, Mason, nice of you to join us. All right, so like on the phone, I don't know if you can see this, but like on the phone, right here, the light from the background hits it. It'd be underneath where it says Kill the Canine Dog Training and it says subscribe. Underneath that little area there's a comment thing, and you hit that right there, and it'll let you comment. It should. So cool. How you doing, Ira? How are things in Memphis? Friend Chris said it's starting to sleet or ice a little bit there. Are you getting it where you're at? All right, let's see what time we got here. It is just after 6. We'll give it a couple more minutes, and then we'll get this thing started. So, and anybody who saw the little thumbnail thing, I want to thank Chris for that. Mr. Ham did that for me. He's been trying to help me out with some of my pictures and some of my thumbnails. So it's not just my ugly mug on there. There's other stuff on there too with a title. So thanks again, Chris, for your help doing that for me. So if anybody needs a thumbnail, Chris is now the man because he's done it now. So, feel free. Hourly rate supply, yes. There you go. He says he's free if anybody needs it. We'll give it, all right, give it just one more minute here, and then we'll get going. Justin, Mason, where's Mom? What is she doing that's more important than being on here? Somebody tell that old lady she needs to be on watching. And like I said, just a little bit ago, for those of you who are just coming on, I had to do a little bit of a change. I was going to do something different today, but my helper, she had some school Valentines that she had to get done. So she was a little upset that she couldn't help with today's live feed, but I told her that there will be plenty of more in the future that she can help me with. Plus, eventually, I'm going to do basically an interview with her on what it's like to be 9 years old and raise and train your own puppy. So that one should be, who knows how that one could go. That one could go off the rails. You never know with a 9-year-old exactly, especially with Lydia, those of you who know her, what she might say or do. So it should be an interesting one nonetheless. All right, let's get this started. So today's topic is why crate training. So I've had people ask me, why crate train dogs or how to crate train dogs, and the types of crates and the size and how to get them used to it and everything else, because that's not something that's usually covered in general obedience training. I guess you could say, I don't lug out a crate out to training. I guess I could, but I don't pull a crate out into training, and we don't, I guess formally crate, teach it in a class setting. So, which, at some point in time, maybe that might be something to think about or to look at. So with that being said, let me adjust this a little bit. I keep cutting off the top of my head. So I've got it broken down in some little section. I try to keep it fluid and keep it moving. You got to look at the crate. The crate is their home. You got to look at it as if, just like you do your home. I mean, we could be friends and everything else, but I don't just come over to your house and, as Chris would say, start rearranging your furniture to make myself comfortable. So I tell people when the dogs are in the crate, I don't invade their space. Um, it is theirs and theirs alone. I don't go and I don't get all in their stuff. Like that's their safe area. That's where they're supposed to go to feel safe, content, have a calming area. So remember that I try to keep the crates kind of in an area where it's a little bit more quiet. It doesn't have to be locked away in a dungeon somewhere in the basement, but I like to keep it in an area that's a little bit quiet. Now, when you have a younger dog, you might want to bring it out to where you can see it a little bit better and see them to keep an eye on them for safety reasons, or if they look like they've got to go to the bathroom. But for the most part, eventually, when my dogs get used to it, I'm lucky enough that we have a room where the crates go, and their dogs they go in there when need be. So, like I said, it's their home. So look at it that way. Remember that it's their space too. They need some personal space just like we do. So I don't go over and I don't just walk in your house and walk up to your room and go lay on your bed and take a nap. I mean, generally that's not how that goes. I don't know if everybody else does that or not, but most people would frown upon that if I just wandered into their house and just lay down on their bed and took a nap. So another thing is the crate is not a punishment. So don't use it as such. Now, that doesn't mean that if they're getting out of hand or they're chewing on things or they're being a nuisance that you can't crate them because you're getting a little frustrated. It means don't grab them and be like, you get over here and I'll put you in this crate and you just slam them on there and stuff them in the crate and put them away as in like a timeout because they're in trouble. Well, the reason being is because by the time you gather them up and get them and take them to the crate, they're not going to even remember what they're being taken to the crate for. They just know that you're frustrated. Your demeanor is different. The way your body language is, the way you sound is different. So you're going to put a negative to something that should be something good. So then, of course, they're not going to go in because every time they get in trouble, they get stuffed in there. So keep that in mind. They don't, like I said, they won't remember why they were taken there in the first place. So, all right. Now, plastic versus wire. Now, I mean, there's also your mesh ones and your heavy duty crates. Like you can get them made out of aluminum to where they're, $1,000 a piece, all that kind of stuff. But I'm talking about just the two basic main crates that most people see, at your local or any big box, pet store or whatever. So it's plastic versus wire. Wire, I don't really like to use it. The reason being is it's too open. I feel as though dogs feel as if they're trapped. Dogs are naturally a den animal. Now, that doesn't mean that every dog's going to do horrible in a wire crate and do better in a plastic or whatever. There's always the dogs that do a little different in each thing. So it's not an end all be all for whether it's plastic or wire, if you have one or not. But for me, from what I have seen over the years when I have done board and trains and I'm creating my own dogs, especially, I have seen that plastic crates are better than the wires. Like I said, they can feel trapped. It's open. It's an open area and they have nowhere to go and they can see them. Most people look at it and they get them because they think, open area, airflow, they can see everything. But that's not the idea of the crate. The crate is a den. Like I said, it's a house. So it's their home. So your home isn't just open for everybody to see. It's not made of glass. So, if it was, you wouldn't feel so safe. You couldn't walk around, you're not, more than likely, you're probably not going to walk around naked if your house was glass and everybody could see it. Also, wire crates, dogs tend to, sometimes they'll get frustrated, especially puppies, and they grab it and they can break teeth. They can get stuck. Their feet can get caught. Not only that, but the corners are sharp. I've run into corners of wire crates and stabbed myself and felt like somebody impaled me. Like I said, and then the feet can get caught, things of that nature. So to me, it's not as safe. They get rusty, they get a little rickety, and they're very noisy. So I just don't like to use them. I was given one years ago by somebody, and one of my dogs that I had, Maylee, she was a crate trained dog. She did phenomenal in a crate. You put her in one and there could be a party going on and you would never know she was in that crate because she knew the crate was quiet and it was a good place to be. But somebody gave me a wire crate now, and me thinking like most people, well, a wire crate, awesome. It's open, airflow, get to see things, all that kind of stuff. Well, I put her in it and I left for the day, and I came back. And when I came back, she had mangled that crate so badly that I actually literally had to get bolt cutters to cut her out of it. Luckily, she didn't get hurt or break anything, but I mean, she could have broke a tooth or hurt herself, by doing that. And so, I mean, it could be a very, very bad thing indeed, so keep that in mind. Like I said, I like the plastic crates. Dogs tend to be more calm in it. Like I said, of course, you're going to have dogs that have separation issues. So even a plastic crate at first is going to be rough, but I feel like plastic, they tend to be more calm from what I have seen over the years than they are in the wire crates. Now, if you have a wire crate, I know they're expensive as crud, and you're like, I don't want to have to go out and spend another $100 on a crate. You can try taking a piece of plywood and make it a little bit longer than the top of the crate. So if that's top of the crate, your plywood, you might want to have it stick out, a little bit like this over the edge. And then what happens is then you could take maybe a sheet or something and hang it over it to where then it kind of covers it. The other thing is you don't want to throw it directly on because the dogs can pull it through the wire. Some dogs, they'll chew it up. Some of them may swallow it. They could get it clogged up in their digestive system. And then it could be turned into a big vet bill. So be careful and keep that in mind, even if you put a plywood cover on it, to make sure that they can't get to whatever you're covering it with. So that way you don't have to possibly go out and spend another freaking $100 or more on a crate. All right. Any questions on anything so far? Yeah, kind of like a porch. See, what makes yours do what? They pull the stuff in the crate, or they grab onto the crate and yank on it. Also, another thing about wire crate too is wire crates. Some dogs will learn that they can pee out of it. So they will hike their legs and they will take a pee right out the crate. Or even if they just pee, most of those bottom of the crates are only like that deep. If they pee and they pee a lot and they get dancing around in there, I know it sucks that they're going to be in it, but they're going to trample and get it all over the place and make a huge mess. So, yeah, they pull stuff outside the crate. Yep. That's why I don't use. Now, it doesn't mean they can't do it on the plastic ones, because of course the plastic ones also have some holes to them, but usually you don't have to cover the plastic crates like that. So, yeah. All right. So now, how to choose size of the crate. It doesn't need to be a mansion. You don't need so much space for your dog to, he could, get a hold of a contractor and have somebody come in and put a second floor in it and a jacuzzi and everything else. They don't need all that room. If you ever watch your dogs, most of the time when they get in their crates, they go to the very back of it and ball up in this tiny little ball in the very back, and they leave like half a crate unused. That's that's what they do. So when you buy a crate, now also take in mind they're going to grow. So as a puppy, the smaller they are, the better when they're young, because if you give them too much room, they'll pee, and then they'll pee over here, and then they'll go on this side of the crate. Because why? Because 6 rooms over, I went to the bathroom, so I got plenty of room, can stay out of it. So that's another reason if you're trying to potty train your dog and you have them in a crate, you don't want the crate so big that that they have so much room that they can go to the bathroom in one area and be all right in the other, because then you're going to have a hard time potty training them. All you need is enough room for them to stand up, turn around in. So it's not really much bigger than they are at all. Like I said, it doesn't mean that as your dog gets older, that if you want to get it a huge crate just so it has room, that's fine, but it's not needed. The other thing is, like I said, you just make sure. Now, if you get a big crate because you don't want to keep buying crates as your dog gets bigger, then maybe try to somehow section it off to where they can only use a portion of it. That way you can, because like I said, it can stink unless you can find one used somewhere and get it cheap. I just have them because over the years I've collected them, because I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I still go on, I used to go on Craigslist and stuff, but now I go on like the Facebook Marketplace and I look every so often and see if people are selling used crates. And if they've got one that's cheap and good price and it's in decent shape, I'll go pick it up. Just because you never know. I may need it. So the only nice thing about wire crates really and truly is that they can break down small for travel. But even then, I don't really worry about it because my dogs sit in crates in the back of the car for safety reasons. Anyway, so they ride in crates. So I have my crates with me anyway. So I don't need wire crates also to take with me with my crates. It just, that would be too many crates everywhere. So, I don't put anything really in the crates. Now that's up to you. I don't put towels and blankets and beds in there. You know, people are like, oh, well, they need something soft to lay on, or they want something soft. If you ever notice, like, if you turn around and the concrete's cool and it's hot outside, your dog is laying on the concrete. He's not laying on something plush. He may get off the couch or off of whatever that's soft because he's hot, and he'll go lay on the cold rocks. So dogs, it's a little different than us. You know, we want to put in there that because we think it's uncomfortable, that they must be uncomfortable. So I do it because the reason why I don't put anything in there is because some dogs will shred things. They may not touch it. It could be in there for months and nobody ever does anything. And then one day you come home and there's a freaking catastrophe. It looks like a pillow exploded and there's just stuff everywhere. Not only that, but if they eat it, like I said, the same with the towels or the sheets covering the crate, if they eat it, you could be looking at a huge vet bill. So to me, it's just a safety reason. To me, the safety of my dog and the health of my dog is way more important than whether or not for the few hours they spend in the crate, if they need a Tempur-Pedic bed to be sleeping on or the bottom of the crate floor. So, now that doesn't mean if you have a puppy, you might want to put something in there, but just be mindful you may chew it up. If so, you might want to use something like paper or something like that to put in there to help soak up pee so he's not just standing in it. All right, making it a good thing. So you want to make the crate a really good thing. Like I said, it's not a punishment. Even though you may get frustrated and put them in there because you're frustrated, you don't want to make it a negative. So by doing so, one of the things I do is when I give it a name or a command. For me, I tell my dogs to box. And that's the same word all the time. I don't say box one time, bed the next time, crate or anything. It's one command, same command every time. So, but right at the moment, at first, I don't use it, and I'll get to that in a minute. I just put a name or the command and name, and then stick with it. Then what I simply start doing is my dogs eat in the crate. I just take the food and I throw it in the crate, in the very back of the crate, and I let them go in there and eat it. I don't close the door on them at first. I just let them go in and out, in and out. And I associate, everything good with the crate. If I go to put them in the crate for some reason, especially young dogs, I throw treats in there and let them go in there. So you want to, and it can take a little time. Now, I know in a perfect world, you could be around and take the time and everything, but sometimes you don't have time. So if you don't, and you have to just put them in there, try to give them something to do while they're in there. So like I said, start feeding in the crate. All your meals in the crate. Then you also want to crate when you're home, because that way they don't associate you leaving and the crate. So you stuff them in the crate and you leave, and then you're gone all day long. So you want to do it while you're at home. That way they learn to be quiet. The crate's not a bad thing. You're not always leaving. They're not always going to be in there all day long. So you want to do it, like take it and do it in intervals. You put them in there for a little while, maybe 30 seconds with some treats. And then before they finish the treats, you open the crate and let them out as long as they're quiet. And then another time, it may be 10 minutes. So then that, like I said, that way they don't just associate the crate with you going away. So now it sucks. So, the other thing is so don't always, like I said, don't always close the door on them. Let them just go in there. That way they're not always trapped, so go in there, they'll eat, they come out. Then you might throw their food in there. And like I said, I throw it in there and I let it just spread out. So if you're feeding kibble, there's kibble everywhere. While they're eating that kibble, if they're calm, I might close the door. That way they get used to it. And then before they're done eating the kibble, I'll open the door. That way they don't feel trapped. And I build on that. The other thing is, like I said, give them something to do while they're in the crate. Give them a Kong. Now be mindful. Some dogs will chew Kongs and swallow it, so be careful. If your dog tears everything up into tiny little pieces, then a Kong may not be good for you. You may need something like a yak chew. But you got to be careful with the type of dog you have, because if they're the kind of dog that just takes big chunks out of stuff and swallows it, then they may not be able to have anything. But I take Kongs and I put stuff in it and I freeze them. And then I throw them in the crate with the dog. Even when I'm home, when I'm practicing it, I'll throw them in there, throw it in there. That way the Kong means crate. And it's a good thing. It gives them something to do, like I said. Now, after they've kind of started associating the crate with good things, then I'll start using the command. So what I'll do is I'll take some food in my hand and I'll throw it in there and say the command. And then as they go in, I just close the door, if I'm leaving. If not, I'll throw it in there and then I let them come out. And then I'll say it and throw it in there and let them come out. So, all right. So what do you do? Actually, real quick, before I change, anybody have any questions on any of that so far? Like I said, I got a lot to cover, so I'm kind of going a little quick so that we're not here all night long. But so if anybody's got any questions on what I've talked about just now, let me know. All right. Okay. All right. Well, the next thing is what to do once they're in the crate. When they're in the crate, you want to make sure when you're putting them in and you're taking them out, you want to be calm. You don't want to, let's see. Location is okay, Chris, good, real quick. Location of the crate itself. Like I said, once the dogs get a little older, I usually keep them in a quiet area. I keep them in hey, Billy, how you doing? I'll answer that in a second. I give them their own little area to be in. Even whether it's in your bedroom or something, it's somewhere that's away from all the commotion. It could be like if you have a living room, you can put in a living room, a dining room, and the dining room doesn't get a lot of traffic. I put it in there. And the reason being is just because they're trying to be good. Just because they're in a crate doesn't mean they have to be ostracized from everybody and locked away in a dungeon. But I don't want them right in the middle of all the commotion, especially in the beginning, because it could get them to start barking and whimpering and everything else. So I want it off to the side a little bit. Now with a puppy, it's the same thing. Maybe don't put it in a bedroom per se right now until they're older and they're okay with it. But have it down to where they can, to where you can see them, but they're not in the middle of the commotion. Yeah, Billy, I did mention that. I said I like plastic crates better over wire. Now, name brand, I don't really have a brand. I am using, a Rufflin Kennel right now crate. They're a little expensive, a little bit more expensive, but they're very sturdy. And X, who learned that he could break and then chew his way out of the side of a crate, I had to get that for him. One, like I said, is thicker, and two, the holes are really tiny, so he can't get a good grip on them and chew them up and bite them. So, but yeah, that's the type of crate that I do like. But aluminum crates work great. Jim has some really good crates, aluminum ones, and they're phenomenal. But then you start into like $800, $1,000 for these custom made crates, which, I mean, they're worth it. They'll last a lifetime, but they do get expensive and they get heavy. So you kind of put them somewhere and they kind of probably will live there. So, all right. So what to do once they're in the crate? Like I said, you want to be calm. Everything is calming. Putting them in, you're calm. You just calmly put them in there. When you let them out, you're calm, and make sure that they are calm as well when you're putting them in. I don't turn it into a big thing, because if you do, then it becomes a big ordeal. I don't stick them in there and go, all right, baby, here, crate, all right, I love you, I'm going to miss you, I'll see you later, and then I'm out. Because then they're going to be like, wait a minute, where in the hell did you go? All right, got me all excited. Now you're gone. Yeah, and so they may freak out. So I'm careful about that. Same thing when I come home. They're going to be excited. You'll probably hear them and go do little tails, and they're bumbling around. They may be turning little circles. They're excited, and you can see them in there bobbing their heads around and staring at you. Well, I don't run right over and let them out. A lot of people will come in, they'll see them, especially if they're puppies, because they want to. Hopefully, they haven't gone to the bathroom yet, but you got to be careful with what you do as when they're puppies and letting them out. I don't run straight over there and then go, oh my goodness, I'm so happy to see you. And then and open the crate and they just, boom, come bolting out like a maniac. Because then you're going to create a habit. Every time you come home, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Till eventually when you come home, they're going to hear you at that door and they're going to be a bam, 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 bam. Crate's going to end up across the room. They're going to be in there going, ah, whimpering and whining and going nuts because they know what's coming. As soon as you walk in the door, it's party time. So I come in. I set my stuff down. I get a drink of water, grab a beer, whatever. Make sure that they're all nice and calm. Make sure they are quiet. And I calmly walk over to the crate and I open it and when I open it, I remind them, box. That means to stay in there. I open the crate and I make them stay in there. And I keep them calm. And then I calmly let them out. And if they come out quickly, I may have them come out and do an obedience command. I tell them free and let them out, and then I'll down them. And the idea behind that is to teach them that coming out of the crate isn't an event. Because if you do, then being out of the crate is going to be the good thing, and being in the crate will be the bad thing. So everything is calm. Let's see. Billy says, if I have a large crate with a divider, how much room do you give a puppy when you're first training? It just depends. If it's a really small dog, I try to give them as small a room as possible. If you're potty training, especially, you almost you don't want to box them in there to where they can't move and they're just stuck in there like this. But you want it kind of close because the less room you give them, the chance of them wanting to go to the bathroom. Dogs by nature are clean animals. They don't want to urinate and then stand in it or poop and sleep in it. Now you do have some dogs that are dirty dogs and they could care less and they'll take a poop and use it as a pillow. And that's a different topic altogether. But yeah, but technically you just want enough room for them to be able to stand up, turn around and lay down. So they don't need a whole lot of space. I'll give an example here shortly. I'll use my little guy and I'll try to maneuver the camera. Hopefully you'll be able to see it all right. So, let's see. Also, when you go to put them, especially when you're first starting this and especially puppies, give them bathroom time. Let them have a chance to go to the bathroom before you go stuff them in the crate and try crate training them. Because if you put them in there and they're still learning and they might get a little whiny, all that little action may all of a sudden they're like, oh, got to go, where they didn't have to before. So try to make sure and keep that in mind. See if you can get them to potty beforehand. Like I said, because if you don't, then you could end up with a mess. So you need to be careful with that too, and kind of keep in mind whether or not the noise could be because they have to potty, or because they're just lonely and I got to get out because I feel so lonely. So, but another big thing is you got to make sure that they are quiet when you let them out. Dogs, especially puppies, they'll feel bad doing there, go, woo, 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 and they're throwing this big, huge fit, and they sound so awful. And some of them will give this lonely, save me howl, and it sounds so heartbreaking, and everything else. So with that being said, but you got to stand your ground. You have to stand your ground. If you don't stand your ground and you feel bad and you let them out, oh man, they have now got your number. They're going to always be noisy. They're going to scream. They're going to have a fit. They're going to shout. Because why? Because it worked. So why not do it? That's why. So you got to hold it out. And sometimes they'll scream and cry for like what seems forever, but they will get quiet. And when they do, then you can go and calmly let them out. But don't do it until they are quiet. I don't leave water or food in their belly just because if they drink it up, they may drink out of stress, in which case if they drink it all up, then they may have to go to the bathroom and then they won't be able to hold it. Food, they eat it, they may have to potty, especially if you got a puppy and you're trying to work, they're not, and they have to be in there for a while, then they're not going to be, they might not be able to hold it. Toys, it depends on the dog where they're toys. Like I say, if you got a dog that destroys it, I don't leave them in there. If they completely destroy a toy and swallow pieces of it, then because you don't want a hospital visit. So it's kind of depending on the dog themselves. Any other questions right now about what to do once they're in a crate? Like I said, one of the biggest things is calm in, calm out, make them be calm. Food and water for an adult dog. I mean, it just depends. Them being in there, it's not going to be a big ordeal if you're gone the day and they haven't had any. Just make sure they had, if you leave it out and they have access to it all the other times when you're home, they should be fine. It shouldn't be a big deal. So that's okay. So, but I mean, if you want, it's up to you. It's not a big deal. So, all right. So why use a crate? The main thing is safety. For me, it's safety. Dogs are dogs. They do dog things. You may have a dog that I had a dog, Lao Shu. I remember there was a sucker on my mom's table for the longest time. Living with three boys, we just sometimes leave three boys living at home. Sometimes you would just leave stuff and nobody would touch it. That's where it would live. There was a sucker on a table and it was there what seemed like forever. One day I came home and the wrapper was on the ground and the stick was there and the sucker part was gone. She had touched it. She'd been out all this other time and had never touched it, never messed with it. It was right there where she could. And just for some reason, she grabbed it and ate it that day. So, it could have been something dangerous. She could have swallowed the whole stick without chewing it or something. So I crate for safety. What happens we have a new puppy and he's learning to crate train. If you might hear him in another room whining a little bit. So even though he sounds pitiful, he's got to stay in there until he's quiet. That's just the way it is. I feel bad for him, but he's got to learn to be quiet. If I let him out, then he'll rule the household. Is the old trick of covering up a crate with a towel or blanket to keep the quiet a good thing to do? I talked about that earlier, Billy, but it can work. Dogs can be like parakeets. You can cover it and get them quiet. Just make sure that they can't pull the sheets or towels in and tear them up. So another thing about safety, say you have a fearful dog. She's scared of things and people and stuff. Well, say something happened where somebody had to come over, like there was a fire or something happened to you and somebody had to come over and get your dog for you. Well, if you have a fearful dog, they may run from that person or they may try to bite that person. So, but being in the crate, them and maybe somebody else, if they need help, can lift the dog up safely for them and for the dog and transport them. If there's a fire, the firemen can see the crates and get the dogs out of the house. So for me, it's also safety for that. And like I said, they're animals. As much as they are part of the family, you got to remember they're still animals. They could chew a wire for no reason. They could decide, oh, wow, that bucket of bleach, that big tub of bleach looks like it's a fun toy. It makes noise when I grab it. And when I throw it around, this stuff comes flying out of it. And the next thing you know, you have a dead dog. So for me, it's safety. That's why I also crate them in a car when driving. Because years ago, I learned the hard way. I used to let my dogs sit in the back of my Explorer. Well, I had a lady jump in front of me in traffic. Thank God we were only doing 20 miles an hour. She jumped in front of me, hit the brakes. I rear-ended her. My two dogs went from the very back of the Explorer and ended up in the front seat of the Explorer. It could have been really ugly. If I'd have been moving 50 miles an hour, I mean, they're still lucky that they didn't get hurt at 20. But if I'd been moving 50, they might have been out the window. So that, and, you're driving along and all of a sudden your dog decides it wants to jump in your lap or bark at something in front of you while you're driving. To me, it's just a safety issue. That's why I crate them even in a vehicle. Now, Another thing is I like to teach them, even because if they get older and they're fine out of a crate and you never need a crate again, I like to let them be used to a crate and know what one is, because what happens if something happens later on in life, an emergency where they need to be crated, whether you have to go somewhere in a hurry and stay somewhere and they can't be out running around, so you have to put them in a crate. And so you're already stressed already. You don't want to take them, stuff them in a crate because you're already stressed. You're acting weird. They could tell that you're stressed out. And then you stuff them in a crate that they've never been in before. Now they're like, what the hell's going on? And they're freaking out because this whole situation, now you've made a stressful situation even worse. So I like to let them see what it's like to be crated and know what it's about, even if I don't plan on creating them forever in the house. It's just a good practice to let them know that crating is okay. Then for puppies, they need rest just like kids. So they're running around going crazy. If you give them choice, they may just run around all day long, and then they get irritable and they get into things just like kids do. So just like children, when they're younger, you put them down for a nap. Same thing for the puppies. You put them in the crate and teach them downtime and let them rest, and that gives you a little bit of a break as well. Also, if you can't watch them and they're puppies, it's safe. It's a safety issue that they're not off eating something they're not supposed to be. Also, and they don't create bad habits. That way if you can't keep an eye on them, your puppy could be off somewhere doing something he doesn't need to be doing, peeing in the house, pooping somewhere, and he's creating a bad habit because you're not there able to control the situation. And also, for the simple fact, so you just don't kill them. There's days when, I'm sure everybody's had this, where they just are driving you nuts. You are not in the mood for it. You've got something going on. You had a bad day, whatever's going on. And for some reason, they just want to be all over you, in your way. Every time you turn around, you're falling over one of them or whatever. Just put them away. That way you're not agitated and don't get mad at them unfairly. And it gives you time and them time for everything to calm down. So, all right. Any questions so far on any of that? All right. So another one is, we're going to go to when you get your dog. When I get my dog, I immediately start crate training the moment it comes home. That way it doesn't just get used to sleeping in the bed with me, and then I decide a few days later to start crate training. Because you remember, especially if you get a puppy, he's probably going to have been with his siblings and stuff like that. Now you're taking him away from that. But if you put him in your bed, or he gets to hang out with you 24/7, and then you go to throw him in a crate, he's going to already have a hard time anyways. So make sure that you start right off the jump. A lot of people want to go get their puppies like on a Friday, so they have all weekend, or on a holiday or something, so they have all this time that they can spend with their dogs. That's great, but remember, you're going to spend that weekend or a week, or right now with the pandemic, a month, a year, whatever it is, you're spending all this time with them, and then all of a sudden Monday morning you head back to work and you slam them in a crate for the first time, and off you go for 8 to 10 hours. You're going to throw them in there, and they're going to be freaking out because they have never seen this before. So you're going to have a dog that's going to be going insane. So start crate training as soon as they get there to your house. Like I said, even when you're home, crate train them, throw them in there. The last thing that I got on my list is multiple dogs. If you have multiple dogs, especially if they come from the same litter, separate their crates and separate them. Don't put them in the same crate, and separate their crates, because even if you put them next to each other, they're still close together. If you put them in a crate together, they're going to bond up tighter than anything. And then if you ever have to separate them, it is going to be sheer madness. You're going to have two dogs freaking out possibly and having a big fit. Why? Because I have never been alone before in my entire life. This goes back to when I talked about bonding with your dog, and why I do training separate with each of my dogs on occasions, because they will bond to each other way better than they'll bond with you. So make sure that you separate them. If they're together all the time already, Mason, you know, you can start separating them, and you may have to do it in increments. You may have to put the crates next to each other first, you know, put them there, and then maybe eventually put something between the crates. I know for you, a lot of it's because you travel a lot. So taking 2 crates, a wife, a kid, and all your gear and everything else, that's a lot of stuff to take. So for you, it's almost out of a necessity to have a single crate and both dogs in it. But like I said, just remember, you know, if something happens, you know, hopefully nothing ever happens, but if something happens where one of the dogs is no longer around and now the dog is suddenly all by himself. Let's see. Oh, says my connection. I said my connection was unstable. Sorry, I had a bad connection, I guess. But I understand where you're coming from. But if you start separating them now, it's probably going to take some time, and it may be a big issue. So you have to take it in little steps. Like I said, put them in 2 crates next to each other, and they're probably going to throw a fit, and then eventually put a divider between them, and then eventually pull them apart a little ways, and a little further apart, and a little further apart. You know, now when they get older and they're used to being away from each other and they're used to things, you can put their crates next to each other. My dogs, their crates are right next to each other in a line. Why? Because when they were younger, I started them out away from each other so they weren't dependent on another dog being there. But now it doesn't matter. So they're all together. So that's what I got on my list. If anybody's got any questions, please go ahead and put those in now. Also, I also want to put out there for everybody, I am also offering Zoom or online training through Zoom or Skype or whatever anybody wants to use. And so if you're not able to be right here with me, if you don't have the ability and stuff to have me close to you, you can also contact me online and do some training as well. Also, please hit the like buttons. The like button, it helps me out tremendously. It gets me a little bit more noticed. And if you can, please subscribe. If you subscribe, then you don't have to go through all this of going to Facebook and hitting the link and doing all this. You'll get the notification when I'm going live. So, how hard would it be to start crate training an adult dog who might never have been in one before? Same principle as train a puppy. It can be. Each dog is a little different. If it's a dog that has separation anxiety and you throw in a crate, it could be rough. So it may take some time, but then you need to kind of put in consideration and weigh whether or not how much stress you want to put on the dog. Like if you've got a dog that's old as dirt, you know, and has been around since the time of Methuselah and is blind and got no teeth and all that stuff, and you go to throw it in a crate for the first time, that stress, that you just may be putting too much stress, unfair stress on the dog this late in life. So, but some dogs, older dogs, they care less. You throw them in a crate, they're like, I'm in a crate, cool, whatever. So you kind of have to play that one according to each dog. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to where you can see it well enough. And he's running around like a maniac. I was going to try to see if I could show you quickly how I kind of just, with some food, get them started introducing them to the crate. So bear with me. We're going to maneuver the computer for a second here and see if I can get a view of the crate. If not, then we just may have to forego that for now. All right, let's see here. We're going down, down, down. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work well. All right, sorry guys. I was hoping it might work, but no, it's not going to do its thing. Sorry. So, all right. Anybody else? Any questions from anybody? This one, like I said, was a little bit longer just because it was a lot to cover. Also, if you've got any topic you would like me to cover, please put that in the comments, and I will love to cover that topic for you. Like I said, I can always come up with something, but I would rather cover stuff that you're interested in and that you have questions about. So, y'all hear the pitiful guy in the background whimpering? Woo! Crate maintenance. Usually it's pretty easy. Depending on the type of crate, some of them, the plastic ones come apart and you can unscrew them and really do a deep cleaning. For me, I just try to do a quick wipe out with them if I can, using some vinegar or something that's not dangerous to them. Maybe once or twice a year, I might do a heavy duty cleaning with some vinegar. With some bleach, where I'll take them out, take the crates outside, and throw some bleach water in there and let them soak, just to make sure that I'm not. What do we got here? Oh, hold on, I got to get something. The puppy pulled something down. Hey, there we go. There we are. You're getting ready to try to chew on my power cable. All right. So like I said, that I just the wire ones. The problem with them is like the little thing at the little plastic tray at the bottom or metal tray at the bottom. They pull out pretty easy, but if they've peed, they can make a mess everywhere. But the wire parts are hard to clean. It's wire, so you have to clean each individual little wire. And that's just a pain. Maybe if you have a pressure washer, you can take it out the back and just spray it with a few thousand pounds of pressure from the pressure washer. Sensitive to smell of crate? I don't think so. They smell, but it shouldn't be an issue. Unless you're talking about a cleaning solution. That's why if I do it, then I dry it out really well. I use a Myers spray. It's more of a natural spray, things like that, stuff that's not toxic or too strong for them. I try, if it has a strong smell, I give it time to dissipate and go away. I don't want to throw them in there right after I just bleached it. Like, they'll sit outside for a while and air out really well, that kind of thing. So, any other questions? See. All right. Yep. Yeah. Like I said, yep, Chris, it depends on the cleaning solution. I try not to use anything that's toxic to the dogs. That way, if for some reason I might not completely wipe it down, if they decide they want to start licking the walls for whatever reason, if we have people, if they start licking the walls for some strange reason, they're not going to ingest anything that's dangerous to them. All right. If there's any other questions, I guess I will be logging off. Like I said, please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. If you've got something you'd like me to talk about, please let me know. And we will be doing this next Wednesday, same time, 6 p.m. I just want to thank everybody who's logged in and took the time to hang out with me tonight. And then for anybody in the future that watches these, thank you very much for, supporting me here. So other than that, let's see. Oh, yeah, no problem, Chris. I will talk to you later. Since you're the one that helps me with my thumbnails now, apparently. But yeah, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. Everybody have a great night, and I will talk to y'all next week. Bye.